Welcome to the Crush Life Podcast. My name is Joel Pilka with the Positive Life Company. Hey y'all, we're here every week hanging out with some of the most inspiring athletes, artists, and businessmen and women from around the world. And they're here to share with you their stories.
Yay! That's amazing. Welcome to the Crush Life Podcast. Today I'm talking with Joel Pilka, an avid entrepreneur, recording artist, national speaker, and my partner in crime and co-founder for the Positive Life Company. But most importantly, the person who, when he shares something with the world is a better place because of it. So buckle in, folks, and listen up. This is Joel Pilka. Hello, Joel.
Hey, Amy, that was beautiful. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Loving it out here. Phoenix, it's January, and I'm going to play golf later this afternoon. And what's not to love?
There's a lot of jealous people listening right now as they're sitting at home with a fireplace and trying to determine what they're going to do to not get cabin fever because it's so cold outside.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my family back in Chicago area, especially my mom, I just keep trying to get her to come out here. I'm like, what are you going to do in January? You know, out there, nobody wants to leave, and it's dangerous if it's icy or whatever. You know, I know it's been really cold. I don't know how much snow they got, but no thanks. Oh,
she doesn't like She's used to it, right? I mean, did she grow up in Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, well, like Southern Illinois now is what I should say. You know, she grew up near, like Godfrey, Alton, Illinois, which is pretty much right down by the river, right? I guess like the Illinois River. And it's right where, if you cross the river, you're in Missouri. On the other side, you're in Illinois. Mm-hmm. So it's where, she grew up, and we used to spend lots of holidays like Christmases and whatnot, because she had a brother and two sisters. And so all our cousins down there. And it's a fun place. It was cool because I grew up like just outside Chicago, about 35 minutes like northwest of the city of Chicago, in a town called Wheeling, right? And it was sports and the suburbs type living, but they lived down on the country and had farms. So we got to be around cows and pigs and shoot guns and go hunting and go camping and be out in the fields and everything. And it was a really cool, that looking back, that I had both, you know what I mean? That I do feel like I got to ride motorcycles and have kind of like this country upbringing, even though I was from Chicago. So I got to relate. That's interesting thinking about it. I got to relate to a lot of people because I kind of had both sides, It was interesting because being from Nebraska, when I started going out there for a while, that's like country. You guys are in the middle of cornfields in Lincoln, Nebraska, especially, in the 80s and 90s even, It's crazy when you go, and Jenny will be like, my wife Jenny would be like, where her house is now. She'd be like, this, when I was a kid, nobody lived out here. There was nothing out here, like out by Firethorn and past that,
Yeah.
So, you guys had that too, that kind of rural upbringing, which I think is healthy and awesome.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Your roots are deep there in Illinois, which I didn't really realize. And in kind of preparing or prepping for this call, I also didn't realize how much I don't know about you. It's like, I know about you, but I don't, over time we've learned so much about each other, but to really kind of dig deep and know who the real Joel Pilka is, I think you go much deeper than even what I've learned in the last, year and a half or so. So excited to kind of explore that. Man. That's what I kind of want to talk about is, who is Joel Pilka, the person? What life events has shaped Joel Pilka, the person? And then also you have this really interesting business side to you too. And so I want to kind of explore that a little bit as we chat here today. And then maybe there's some parallels there between life and some of your business ventures. So we can talk about that. So Yeah, so let's start. I want to go back for a second. So I guess I didn't realize that your roots were so deep in Illinois. So you grew up in Illinois and in the Chicago area, correct? Like, is that where you grew up?
Yeah.
Like, is that where you lived?
Yeah.
From the time you were born until when?
So it's interesting too, and not interesting. I think maybe back then it was a different thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just because the way I live, because Jenny and I bounce around a lot. You know, we always say we get this like 2-year itch and we move. And it's funny. We've been in Phoenix now for 2.5 years and we're going, you know, we're not leaving, you know, right now we're not. But yeah, I grew up, like I say, 35 minutes or so northwest of the city of Chicago, Wheeling. So, you know, town of about 30,000 people, typical suburb. And, you know, my parents moved up there with my sister, I guess, right before they got me, because we were both adopted, actually. I mean, I could go down many rabbit holes now, and they got this house in like 75 or whatever, and, you know, lived in that house, the same house, until I was probably, I don't even know. My mom lived there till I was probably 35 years old, and same place, you know, and we put an addition on like in 1990, and it was like the place. It was kind of one of those like houses that the door was always open. I mean, we were playing basketball in the front yard with the lights on till midnight, and, you know, kids over at the house all the time, and, you know, people always staying over and sleeping over. It was like the place to be. Yeah. I mean, there were other kids you know, that had similar things. You know, sometimes we'd be at somebody else's house, but in my area over there in that neighborhood, like we all hung out at my house. It seemed like, you know.
Yeah, Hotel Pilka.
Yeah, it was. It was fun. It was fun because my mom loved it. You know, she loved having everybody around. And, you know, I pause here just like kind of reminiscing back in my brain on some of that stuff and just wonder how that shaped me as, you know, a person as being like outgoing and entertaining, because I love to entertain. And maybe that's just where it came from. Like having people over, you know, do you need anything? Can I get you anything? Let's have fun. The door's open. You know, you want something to drink? Well, go get it. They would be like, you know, somebody would be like, can I get a pop? And I'd be like, yeah, go get it. They're like, no, I'm not going in the house. I'm like, go, just walk in the house and go get it. It's fine. No, I've never even met your mom. Just seriously, just go in there. And that was like my thing. Be like, if you don't have, you know, the guts enough to just go in there and get it, then you don't get one. Just go get one. Yeah. My mom doesn't care.
It's like the Midwest care, right? Yeah. Like, it's fine. Hey, we're all going to be friends here. It's just open door policy. And for those of you who don't or did not grow up in the Midwest, when Joel said pop, he meant soda.
I didn't even think of that.
I don't know. I guess it depends on where you live, right?
Yeah, it does. I never even realized. I always thought I called it Coke. Like if somebody asked if I was taking a quiz online or something, I think I would call it Coke. But it's funny I said pop. So this is great. So you felt like that may have shaped you as an entertainer. And I want to talk about that for a second. So, you know, you kind of started out entertaining just your friends or your buddies. And you didn't consciously think at the time, like, oh, I'm entertaining people, right? But what was, like, later on in life, let's talk about the entertainment aspect of it. What is like one moment that you can think of where you were entertaining, and you can tell us how it was that you were entertaining, but the one moment where you were like entertaining people or a crowd or whatever, and you were like, this is it. Like, this is awesome. I love doing this. Wow. You mean okay. You got me thinking about a few different things. I mean, if you mean like music, or just like people in general, because, you know, I always wanted to sing, but I was scared a lot of times, you know, and I played music in like band and stuff like that in grade school, up on stage with a group or whatever, just like the trumpet or whatever, you know. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the attention, but I wasn't good, but it was fun. So I think earlier it probably stemmed more from taking care of people and like, I remember in college, 1999, right? That whole 1999 going into 2000 New Year's Eve, we had this huge party at my mom's house. And, I was at school. I was at Eastern Illinois, and I had all these new friends. And so I would bring them back and mingle them with, my high school buddies, even though I did go to high school with a lot of my college guys. And, the school I went to is like 2.5 hours from my house. And so this moment here, I think looking back is, I don't know if it shaped me, but there's weight to it. So give me a quick story here. And, so I tell my mom, this is what we're going to do. My sister lives next door, right, to us. And so we knock the fence down and I build this huge dance floor out of plywood. I drill it all together. I get a huge tent. And, I had champagne where it was like 2 bottles of champagne for every, it was a bottle of champagne for every 2 people. And I had it stocked. That was my mentality at the time.
It's going to be a party. If Joel's going to throw a party, it's going to be a party.
If we're going to have a party, we're doing, and my mom gave me the go ahead. So I got a bartender. We got the whole thing going. We have like a sign up thing. I don't know if I told them dress up, and kids came.
Dress up like of 1999.
Yeah. Give me a break. Right? We're talking Prince here. The whole deal is the late 90s. And so, and the best part was the school was only about 2.5 hours, 3 hours from my house. So a lot of these kids grew up southern suburbs, a lot of northwest suburbs, a lot of southern suburbs of Chicago, which I didn't know that area. Right. And so now that expands my entire network right there. So everybody's at my house, and I'm working the crowd. I rented a tux. I have a tuxedo on. We're having a beautiful time. And I remember my mom after that party just saying, like, Joel, it was so fun to watch you at that party. Like, just take care of everybody, and the way that you handled it, and the way that it was really fun to watch you. And I never thought like she would say something to me. I didn't even notice. I was just having a good time. But that made me, it made an impact on me. It made me realize that she was watching me, for one, that she was noticing what I was doing, and that I was just in my element being who I was, and that was natural to me. And so that was an entertaining aspect where, again, it was more of kind of service-based, I think. It was like taking care of people. I wanted everybody to have fun and be taken care of, and what can I do and where can I be, and let's have fun. And so that made an impact on me as far as entertaining that way. The music thing is something different. That's something that's taken me a while to get out to. And I just love creating. But more and more now, I just figure I want to share it. And so the sharing piece comes. And I wonder if that's like a service-based thing, because I just want to be able to share what I think with more people, because I think I've had so much great feedback over the years from people in my dealings with them that I just want to do it more and more.
Yeah. And you mentioned music now a couple times. So, tell us, for those who don't know you, when you say music, what are you talking about? Are you talking about playing instruments? Are you talking about singing? And kind of as a follow-up to that, how has music influenced you in your life?
Yeah. Music is huge for me. And I know a lot of people say that, but I don't know. I can get lost in like a lyric or a phrase, or just the way a violin can sound. Just one piece, I can get lost in it for like a month. So I posted this song today, right? And I will listen to that song on repeat for as long as it takes. And a lot of times it'll be a couple weeks where it's the only song I will listen to. Sometimes I'll take breaks, but it will be the only song, and I will practice to it, and I will work to it, and I will play to it, and it's just and I have to know it and feel it, because there's a feel to it. So music is really inside me like crazy. I don't really know where it came from, but as a kid, I played the piano, and I would come out of class early in the piano organ teacher from church. I would go meet with him. We would do lessons. And then I played the trumpet, and then I got into, I always wanted the drums. I would ask since I was probably 5 years old for a drum set, and never would get one. And then 16-year-old, they got me a guitar, and I took a couple lessons. I was like, I don't like this. And was always singing. And then 21st birthday, here comes drums. And a year later, I'm in this blues band, with these guys. I told them, yeah, I can play the drums. I really didn't even know what I was doing. And they're like, fine, show up to practice. I show up and I'm like beating on the drums. They're like, well, you're kind of a beginner, but we'll love to work with you. These guys I went to high school with, I'm just like, yeah, I can play anything. I just showed up and we used to have a band, Jake and the boys. We played blues all over Chicago for like 5 years. It was a great time. And that fed it even more. And I was like, I really want to sing. And they're like, well, unless you can sing and play the guitar or the drums at the same time, like you can't do it, And I couldn't because it's a different animal. There's only a few drummer singers like Phil Collins, Don Henley. I don't even know any more of that. And so after that, I started playing the guitar a little bit and tried my hand down in Nashville, even though I probably wasn't ready, but I went down there to write some music and play and see what was it. I just took off because I was in Chicago thinking like, I'm stuck doing the same things. Like I need to change it up a bit. Went down there, played a little bit, stayed about a year, but I kept coming back to Chicago. Cubs were in the playoffs. It was like 2005. It was a big year. And I kept coming back to Chicago like every couple of weeks. So after about 8 or 9 months, I'd met Jenny back in Chicago and I moved back. But, I'm probably getting off track. I'm just trying to paint a quick picture of like the music thing for me. And I think it revolves around singing. Like I love to sing. And it's funny. I'm finally finding my voice. And I never knew what that meant. It meant like I have a deeper country style type voice, but that's like if I'm singing it. Now, if I'm just sitting around and I just belt out whatever I make up, it comes out in a certain tone. And I'm trying to stay conscious of the fact that maybe that is my note. That is my key. That is my tone. So trying to find out like who I am as a singer has taken a long time, but I think I'm finally settling into it. Maybe that correlates to knowing yourself somehow, but I don't know. That's a deep.
Well, I think there's such a parallel there between music and life, right? And like everything you just said, like finding your voice. What is your voice in life? And maybe I'll ask you that question here, but what is your voice in life and who, you said, I'm finding who I am. It's like, that's almost a life journey. And that's been a journey for you in music, is determining who you are as an artist. But I think we can ask ourselves the same question when it pertains to life. It's who am I? What is my voice? Right?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a good question, or that's a good point. And it changes, right? Weren't you and I talking about this the other day? Like who I am now, as opposed to who I was. And that's why I love recording 5 years ago, like this demo that I recorded in 2007. I still love those songs, but I always want to keep recording because it's like, that's who I was then. When you have your notebooks, if you journal or if you write music, you write poems, whatever it is you're writing, maybe it's even copywriting, and you go look back on your early work. And some of it you're like, wow, that's really primitive or basic or elementary. But some of it you're like, damn, that was really good. Like I was really good back then. I'm not getting any better because that was brilliant, Yeah. Maybe not to somebody else, but it's brilliant to you because you know where you've come and where you've been and how it fits, and you're like, wow, I feel like I was ahead of my time for me back then.
Yeah, and I think when you have those and you go back and look, you also realize like it's almost like it can take you back to that moment in time as well. So there's some sort of memory or feeling tied to it at that point, whatever it was, like what you were going through in life or, whatever that is. And, you talked about this demo, you talked about your demo CD. In fact, is that the CD that my brother gave me?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, there's a few on there, and those are great songs. I'm so proud of them because I got hooked up with this producer out of Chicago, and we became friends. And I would go over to his house like once a week, and we would write and we would record, and then we would go to the studio with professional musicians because it was just me with a guitar writing these songs, and then he would help me finish them. And then he would play the piano to it, and we'd bounce this track to different musicians, studio musicians that work out of their homes. This is so cool. Studio musicians that work out of their homes and get paid like contractors. And you say, look, here's our track. We need a guitar. And this is what we want. And then they do a couple different takes, and then we see which one we like. It's almost like hiring somebody on Fiverr or whatever, right? Like, here, put something to this and let me see what you can do. But these guys are, seasoned musicians. And we ended up doing actually the first dance for the song for our wedding. I wrote it and got to go into the studio and produce it, and had some big names like the guy that played the bass for Jimmy Buffett's band who played bass on the album, and some of the other guys I didn't know. I know, but Derek, my producer, was telling me, like, who these guys are, like some really solid dudes. And I was like, that's cool, whatever. But it was fun, and man, being in the studio is a fun, creative. Love being in the studio. Yeah.
See, that's that whole entertainment factor, though. Again, so once you're entertaining people, maybe not at the time when you're in the studio, but the end result is, going out there into the world and entertaining people. And maybe someday one of those, or maybe already, right? Like one of your songs becomes a song that helps somebody get through something, or that they put on repeat and listen to again and again. Oh, you have that power.
That would be beautiful.
You don't give yourself enough credit.
Well,
you're not giving yourself enough credit.
I appreciate that. And maybe, thank you. And for maybe it's hard to picture, it just seems like how difficult it is to get your stuff or your art, your music in front of enough people. You see these people up on stage, whoever it is, and the people in the crowd are all singing their song. That's a beautiful thing. And you can see how it affects them, especially if they wrote it. And you're like, wow, everybody here is singing this song that I wrote, and they feel it. Like, how amazing is that? Because we all know how powerful music is, but my gosh, I think about those songs in your life that remind you of certain things. I know one for a fact that reminds me of when my dad passed away, and it's like this Mariah Carey song, and I will never forget. Every time I hear it, I came walking into the living room, and this song was on the radio, and I don't know if it was that day. I can't recall. It feels like it was the day before it all went down, but I was at home, and I just don't know when I heard it, but that's the song. And when I hear it, instantly, I'll just stop and think of that entire day. Nuts.
What was the song?
It's Mariah Carey, I Can't Live. Typing it in.
Oh, right.
If living is without you,
Yeah.
It's actually probably a love song, but it just has the vibe and the feel, because she's like crying, I can't live.
Yeah.
And she just like, oh man, it just spoke seriously deep into my heart. And I was like, this is a sad song. And it just got me, and, it allows me, hold on, check this out. I think it allows me to feel that sad emotion like strongly, because sometimes, I don't know. It just, it kicks me right into that emotion of sadness, which is healthy sometimes,
It's almost like it gives you permission to feel the way that it is that you need to feel. Totally. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's like a trigger. Yeah. It's like the ultimate trigger, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. We have a mutual friend who's, gosh, I don't know. He had said it to me a couple of times, and I can't really remember how he phrases it, but he says something like, music is the speech of angels, or something like that. And the couple times that he has said it to me in my life, I was like, that is so powerful. And that just shows you how powerful music can be in dealing with certain situations, and how it can get people through different things in life. And I feel like from your story, that's what music is for you too.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something that is comforting and, for all of us, energetic or whatever it could be, but it's a huge part of me for sure. And, I've noticed, the funny thing is, it's like kind of a switch here, like nurture nature comes to mind, because I was adopted and my sister was adopted by different families, but we were both born, I think, in near Springfield, Illinois. And actually, my dad was adopted by his parents. So we are like this. I know, my family is like this group of people that kind of all got brought together and just made it happen. And, I never thought of that till I was older, because I probably didn't think about it or comprehend it. I didn't care. But I've always known I was adopted. It was not a big deal. But like thinking though at that, how we're just like this group of people that kind of came together and made it work is, a testament to my parents, my mom and dad. And, but I don't know, it's just, I found out later in life about, my birth mom and these.
Oh, that was what I was going to ask you. Okay.
So I found out later in life about her and my brothers, my half brothers. We all have the same dad, same mom. But, the music part there, I guess, my birth mom was a singer and still is, I think. And my other brother plays, guitar and drums and banjo and writes music and sings. And, so that is interesting, right? It's like how much do you get from your environment and how much do you get from your maybe genes? That always kind of intrigued me when I found out that I was like, oh my gosh. So this is where I get some of this, even though, I would sit down at the piano and play by ear. Like I would just play like the MASH theme song or so, whatever I was heard on the TV. And my mom noticed that, and like credit to her that she noticed and she pushed that.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. My mom was, we're so super tight, and that's awesome that she saw that.
So, okay. So are you still in contact? Like, are you in contact with your birth mom and your brothers, your half brothers?
The birth mom, we've touched base a couple times on Facebook, but we've never spoken. She said, hey, I'm here at any capacity or none, whatever you guys need. I'm here for the kids. We did find out actually there's a sister out there we cannot find. So maybe she's listening, right? We have that, her and I have the same birth mom and dad, but we can't find her anywhere. And so I really reached out. Once my dad died and stuff, I reached out and tried to figure out who these people were, so I could learn a little bit about the health background. So the mom and I have only been in contact a handful of times on Facebook. The brothers and I have met up a few times. We've got together on holidays. Our families have met, and we keep in touch. And it's a beautiful thing. I always wanted brothers too. I have a sister, but I always wanted brothers as well. And then when I turned about 30, I found out I had a couple, and I was like, this is amazing.
Amazing. I love that. And I'm sure that there's people listening who may be in a similar situation or can relate in with being adopted or maybe having adopted a child, either one. And I'm curious to know, you said you've been in contact with your mom a couple times, with your birth mom a couple times, but it sounds like it's been on your end, your decision not to take that any further.
Yeah, that's good insight. I don't know. I don't know what to say. She wrote us a letter one time and told us like what happened in her life and why she made the choices she did. And I mean, I always feel like I'm going to win the lottery, just like probably everybody that buys a ticket. They're like, oh my God, I actually probably could win this. But I mean, you have a ticket, you probably can't. I know it's silly, but the point to that is I already won the lottery, really. When I was adopted into the family that I got blessed with, that was it. Like the things I've been able to experience and live and do in my life, like I already won. It's amazing. And where I'm at right now is all because she made that decision. And, just being whatever spot she was in, for her to, I guess, maybe have the clarity or whatever it was, clarity, divine intervention, naivete, whatever you want to call it. Thank goodness. So yeah, that's
awesome.
Yeah. And so I haven't really taken it any further. I don't know what to say to her. That it's been explained. I just wanted actually to have a relationship with the kids because I always felt like they didn't have a choice in any of this. And we all have a similar story. So let's connect and unite and try to be there for each other if we can. We don't talk a lot, but there is heart there. My one brother, Jeff, the oldest, he got off the phone one time and said, Joel, this was the best. This was like a year ago. We were on the phone. He goes, hey man, I got to ask you something. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, when we get off the phone, I'd really just like to say that I love you. Is that cool? I was like, dude, that is great. I love it. And I love you. And yes, that is amazing. It's tough. We all have our own stories and the three brothers of and how we deal with it and what our families know. And it's been cool to unite. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you obviously were shaped by your parents growing up. And you talk about your mom in such a beautiful, beautiful way. And even still, I mean, you do when you talk about the past, but even still today, when you talk about her, you can just feel the love between you guys. And what do you feel like is the best lesson that your mom has ever taught you?
Wow, man. That's interesting. There's definitely points in life where that I remember her saying things to me. You know, this is a great question, Amy, because I've often heard people talk about their parents and what they've said to them. And I was always like, what are my lessons? What did my parents always say? You know, but now thinking about it, my mom used to say, like, don't be a follower, you know, just I would be out with people and she'd be like, just, you know, lead. All right. Just be who you are. Don't be doing stuff because other people are doing stuff. And then right after my dad passed away, I was senior in high school and I was going through obviously that, but I don't know. I was on the baseball team and I was like, and then we only had a couple months of school left. And I think I was like, I'm going to quit, you know, and baseball was my thing. I played it forever, traveling teams, traveled around the country and not a lot, you know, we got into a couple different tournaments, you know, like outside of the state, like down in Florida and stuff, but traveling teams and all through high school. And so I said, I think I'm going to quit. And she's like, I don't think you should. You know, I think you don't want to set a pattern. You know, like once you start quitting things, it can become a habit. And I don't want that for you. So be conscious of what's going on here. You know, in so many words is what she said. And that's always stuck out to me because I was like, well, it's not going to be a habit. This is just something I need to do now. But looking back, you know, it's interesting. I was probably giving myself permission to walk away from some things. And at that time, I think for the next while, I probably didn't take as big as responsibility for a lot of things in my life. You know, I would, relationships, people, even myself, I just kind of, I don't know what happened, but I just kind of was like, I'm going to check out for a while. And I checked out for quite a while. You know, went off to school. I went to junior college for a year. Then I went off to Eastern Illinois and I just started playing music a little bit, not really going to class and, you know, drinking beer and having fun. Like I was 18 years old, you know, 18 years old, drinking beer and having fun.
No big deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was 21 and everything was legal.
At 18, you know, life would. I meant 21.
So
I did my math. I'm so
that was
sorry.
the wrong math.
All right, I want to take you back for a moment because you mentioned it a few times and about your dad passing.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of, you know, I would love for you to share that what happened there. And if you can take us to that moment when you found out that your dad had passed away and what that was like. So you kind of might have to give us a little bit of the backstory, what happened, and then bring us to that moment and in Joel Pilka's head, or brain, mind, what was going on at that moment when you found out.
All right. Here is the superior insight into my brain for that time. The story doesn't really get told because when you tell the story, you don't tell these details to somebody just in conversation, but why not? So I'm at school and I get, you know, come to the office thing. It's funny. As a kid in grade school, I always wanted to go to the office because I wanted to get out of class. I was like, I want to go to the office. And well, finally in high school, I get the damn call, come to the office. I walk in there and they're like, you need to go home now. Well, so my dad went in, he was a cop, Cook County Sheriff, and sat in a car and did a lot of other things I found out after life. You know, like he was, you know, did security, private security, and a lot of it was for like Chicago Bears. Crazy. I know. I didn't learn a lot of this stuff till after he passed. I mean, I probably knew it, but I was only like 16, 15, 14, 16. And I actually have this football right here in my office signed by the 85 Super Bowl winning Bears, the entire team.
Oh, amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. And that was a very beautiful gift. So he goes into the hospital, elective surgery to have artery removed from, I think, you know, his left leg, I think, and have synthetic artery put in to help the blood flow because he was having pain in his legs and But it was elective. He didn't have to do it, but he wanted to do it. And so he gets in, has a surgery, all's good. I went up there that night after baseball practice and said, say check in, see ya. And, my mom was like, all right, give your dad a kiss goodbye. And I didn't want to because I didn't like hospitals. I don't know. I had this thing with hospitals and people in hospitals. My dad, I don't know. And so I stepped back in the room and I made up an excuse like, oh, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Boom. And I left. Well, then, next day we get this call at school and I go to the office like, you got to go home. I go flying out of the parking lot. The van lady's there like, stop. And I'm like, I'm not stopping. And go home. My sister's at home and she's getting like ready. I think she's getting the baby, my niece Samantha, who's like 23 now. And getting her ready and packing up. And she's like, we just got to go. We got to go. And I don't know what's going on. And so I don't know what to do. So I go into the living room and I lay down on the carpet and I'm like a snow angel, like with my arms out and my legs out. And I'm just like feeling it. I'm like trying to feel what's happening. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like something's going on and I don't know what it is, but I'm just like, I don't know. This is weird. I'm just like trying to feel energy, like what's happening. And I know that sounds weird, but that's just what I had. I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, what's going to go on? So we get in the car, we drive to the hospital, which takes like 25 minutes. And my mom's car is out front with the door open and the hazards on. And I'm like, all right, this is not good. So we go up elevator. The minute we get off the elevator, my neighbor, Dean Argyris, comes out and he's like, he's gone. He's gone. And we're just like, wait, like what? We just got here. Like, wait a minute, what? And so everybody's freaking out and they're like, you can go see him. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going in there. I do not want to see this. Because I was already kind of having like anxiety in my life a little bit, I think. And I was like, I do not want to remember this visual for the rest of my life. Little did I know though, you're going to have a wake and everything. So you're going to remember that picture. So I don't know, but my sister went in, she's, definitely a bit stronger in that category than I am. And so I went in and I grabbed Samantha and I held her and then we were just like in tears. We didn't know what to do. Counselor comes in, starts talking to us. I was like, Mom, I need the keys to the car and I'm going to leave right now. And she's like, counselor's like, I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should go. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to go. And she's like, okay. She's like, he needs to go. And so I just took her car and I just drove. And I just needed to feel it. I just turned on the music or I can't remember. I know where I was driving, but I don't remember. And I was just like, where's life going now? Now what is going on? Like, what are we going to do? What is happening? I just had to think it through and driving helped. I don't know. I wasn't mad yet. I didn't understand, but so that was that. And then.
So you never went in and saw.
No, I never went in and I didn't give the kiss, that night before, which is like this cliche thing, but man, I don't know. And it was a fluke. They said they must have thrown a blood clot. They were taking him from the ICU room to a normal room. They were transferring him rooms and they took the heart catheter out. And I don't know. He threw a blood clot. We don't know. He had a heart attack. Couldn't, that was it. And
wow, that's powerful. So that kind of just reminded me too, when my mom passed away, my brother, Jason, and I, same thing, right? Like she was in the room, she'd already passed and they were, at that point she was in hospice. And so they were like, you can go in there if you want. And so Jason and I went back in there and I don't think we were in there, but 30 seconds. And I said, I don't want to be in here. Like you're just standing next to a body. I mean, it sounds cold because it is cold, and it's just like, nobody wants to see that. And but it sounds like your father or your dad then had an open casket.
Yeah. I mean, like a wake, right? If the wake is open, it's, right? Isn't that what, I thought that's what, well, not everybody, but yeah, it was like that. Along those lines, since I've been, with Jenny, we've been together 13, 14 years, something like that, married 10, she's had some family members pass, grandma and grandpa, and the way that their family handles that was beautiful and eye-opening and unnerving. So her grandfather passed away, and we were all there as it was happening. Same with her grandmother. And people are in the room, on the bed, hanging out, holding onto, while somebody takes their last breath. And then for like an hour afterwards, we're all sitting in the room and people are saying their goodbyes and holding hands and touching. And her grandfather, after he passed, and I'm going, this is uncomfortable to me, but it's so beautiful to watch this, the caring, and, because I feel like it's maybe natural to distance ourselves from it because it's scary and it's unknown and it's uncomfortable. But the way that they embraced that was just beautiful and eye-opening. Like it just opened my mind. I was like, good for them. And thank you for letting me experience this. And unbelievable, because I'd never seen that before. Normally, the death happens outside. It happens at the hospital. It happens away from you. It doesn't happen right in front of your face. I mean, not for maybe in my experience anyway. I don't know,
Yeah, and I think, there's no right or wrong way to deal with that, However, there's only your way, and however that works for you, is the way. So you leaving the hospital and driving, that was the right way because that was the right way for you at that point in time.
Yeah, that's just what you're right. You're right. There's no right or wrong way. You just kind of in the moment.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing that. I think, a lot of people can relate to certain situations and certain things that you said there. And it was really beautiful. And, I asked you earlier what the greatest lesson your mom taught you. So now I'm going to ask you the same thing from your dad's perspective. What is the greatest lesson that your dad taught you?
This is a great question. My dad was a huge fisherman, and he would take me with him when he would go on trips all over the place. The cool thing about my dad is he realized his dream. He got to realize his dream. He wanted to be like a boat captain. Everybody called him Skip, because they called him Skipper as a kid, because I guess he used to wear this little like skipper hat, but he loved boats. We had boats and we would go fishing all the time. I think he took my mom on their honeymoon. They went to the Ozarks and went fishing. He's like, I can't believe your dad took me fishing on our honeymoon,
My parents went to Ozarks too for their honeymoon.
No way. Oh.
I don't think they went. No, but yeah. Okay, so anyway, go ahead.
So he, so he was very kind. And, I learned a lot more about him after he died, actually, because people would come up to us and tell us about him. You should have seen when on his funeral, since he was a Cook County sheriff, we left the funeral home, went all the way down over to our house, which was like 3 towns over, and then back 2 towns to go to the cemetery. And it was like police were lined up down the streets, like saluting all the way down. And then we get over to my house and there's cops everywhere and there's cop cars everywhere. And there's, officers out of their car, just like saluting. I'm about to cry thinking about it because I didn't know. And these people are coming up to us and be like, your dad, ever since I was like a rookie, took me and taught me and all this stuff. Like he was teaching new guys. He was doing all this stuff, but he would pull crazy stuff. I remember, I'm going down a hole here, but I remember one time we were in the car and he's like, hold on. And he stops at this apartment building and he gets out and he always had his gun with him. And we're just out for the afternoon getting lunch. And he comes back after he's talking to these guys. And later on, I figure out, he's out there because we own rental properties that collecting rent, or he's talking to people. He's my dad was into a lot of stuff. I didn't know, you know what I mean? He was just doing stuff. So, but the thing is this, he died when I was 16, 17. So I only knew him as a child. I feel like because I was immature and, I'm a late bloomer, like I like to say. I'm a late bloomer.
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah. But I always feel like I'm ahead of my time, but I'm only ahead of my time by 10 minutes. That's not enough you can really do with that. You know? But so he was very organized in the way you would go to the garage. Everything was meticulous. His fishing lures were color coded, in boxes.
Oh, I like it.
You open up the trunk of his car and everything was rubber banded together and stacked. And he was very scientific. He would help me with these science projects and do this. So to learn from him what was the biggest lesson? I don't know. Probably just like self-awareness, because he was very vigilant, I think, being a cop. And he was always surveying, and I'm very observant. And it's funny. Maybe I'm just learning this as we have this conversation, but maybe just a way to view the world, because I watched him do it, and like how to be careful and how to do things. Because I didn't get patience or organization from him, because those are not my strong suits, as you probably know, with our whole note-taking system. Not very good at the organization part, but
hey, you can't glean every strength from your parents, Yeah. You can't get everything from them. So, okay, once your dad then passed away, I always feel like when people go through certain things in life or monumental things in life, you really kind of start to realize who is there for you, like who your true friends are, or who is there for you. So my question for you is, because connections in life is so important, and when we talk about it all the time in the Positive Life Company, but what connections there, like who was there for you after your dad died, and how did that help you get through it?
That's tough, man. I wanted everything to go back to normal right away. I was like, look, our family came up and stayed for a few days, and I was just like, I just want everything to go back to normal. I want us to just get it going. And I don't know why I was craving this normalcy type thing. So me and my mom, and my sister and I are like close, but we don't run in the same circles, and we don't talk a lot, but we like each other. We're just different, Monica, love you. But it's just, we're just different, we are. And so we didn't like bond too hard on it. But when the family comes together, when us three come together, we come together. But, a lot of my friends, I feel like my friends probably know me better than anybody. And that's probably true for anybody. I don't know. I spent a lot of time with my friends, like my buddy Rich, Mikna, Chris, Bogensky, Joey Hollander, like these guys I went to high school with, and I spent so much time with. And then we all went to college. We all joined the same fraternity and met some amazing people, Dave, Zach, Justin, TJ. It's just like these guys that, I don't know, they just kind of become your family, right?
Yes.
Thinking back, like who was there, I don't know. I did a lot of it on my own. And as much as this is something I think through now, like I always feel like I'm an extrovert, which I feel like I am, but a lot of me is introverted too. Looking back, I think I started drinking a bunch, and not like, I don't think I ever had a problem with it. I just liked it, but I would go sing and I would go play and I would go out to parties and whatever. And I realize now looking back that I would be on my own all the time. I might go out with a group of people, but you'd probably never see me. I'd be bouncing around the entire bar. And then I would just leave when it was time for me to go. I would just leave, Yeah. And so I was probably hard to get to know for a long time. Even though I knew a lot of people, I started thinking back, and I connected with a lot of people, and I reached out, and I was always connecting and bringing people together. But I don't know if I ever sat down and was like having these deep get to know you conversations, So I don't know if I really bonded. And that's why it's important for me now to like make sure the people that I do keep in touch with since those times, that they know I'm here for them, and I reach out to them all the time, and I write them letters, and I try to stay active in their life, especially when they reciprocate. That's an interesting thing too. It's like, at what point, like, are you reaching out to somebody and they're not reciprocating?
Oh, so true, right?
But do you like judge that and cut them off or whatever it is? I don't know, So it's like that person that invites you to do things, and it's just always bad timing.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I've said no like 8 times to this person. I'm going to have to go at some point because I want them to know that I like them. It's just like the worst timing every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, just trying to make sure that the people that you're reaching out to, I guess, want to reciprocate that thing. And everybody's busy, but that's something I try to teach people or instill on people, is like keeping those connections and reaching out. Like, I have right here for 2018, you can hear it. I put my somehow Jenny's mom, I think, got me, when we got married, we both got, like, not a letterhead. We got a bunch of like thank you cards. Well, it was just like a card and it has my name on it. And then it came with a bunch of envelopes, it was really nice, like Vera Wang or something. But so I put this here, and lately when I sit down at my desk in the morning or whatever I'm doing, I just grab one and I write a little note to somebody and I pop it in the mail. And
I love that.
Yeah, it's been my new favorite thing. And my friend Charity, who was she just went out to Thailand, quit her job, went out to Thailand, is like teaching. She didn't even know what she was going to do. Now she's like teaching English and stuff. She said she got into some, health issues, and her like new employer sat with her for like 5 days. Her first day at work, she was supposed to show up to work, got appendix out. Her employer comes and sits at the hospital with her in Thailand for 5 days. Doesn't, employer, never, whatever, first day, calls in sick.
Yeah, who does that? Yeah.
So she's like, would you guys write this letter? So I wrote a letter the other day, sent it to Thailand. She's, to the people to thank them for taking care of our friend. And it's just like little things like that I think you need to act on. Like when you see, this is my new thing right here. When you see somebody online and they post something about their father or their mother or their loved one, or they're going through a hard time or whatever, don't just put like thoughts and prayers.
This is my thing. Yeah.
Just grab this little card, and all you have to say is thinking about you, hang in there, love you. You could say, call me, you could say whatever, but you don't have to say much. But when they get this card and they say, wow, this person just wrote these 5 words down, whatever it was, and they took the time to send it to me in all the noise and clutter, everything that's going on online and in my life, it's a beautiful thing. So I encourage you to maybe try that. It's just put a couple cards by your desk. It could be an index card. It could be whatever. But I think you'll have fun with it. I think you'll go find some cool stock that maybe has your name on it or something, and it'll be really, really cool. And then you just have stamps by it. And it's like, boom, done, out the door. Now, getting it in the mailbox is a whole other thing. That could take 4 days. But at least just write it. Just write
Actually, walking out to the mailbox, that's a lot tougher.
I'm telling you. You'd be surprised how long it takes me to get something in the mailbox. It's unbelievable.
That is such a beautiful suggestion. And, I can remember when we were going through everything with my mom and everyone's comments online, and I appreciated every single one of them. And also understanding this, when something like that happens, you can have 300, 400 comments between just on Facebook alone, right? Just either on a comment or a private message or whatever. And while all of those mean so much, it's like they get lost in the shuffle too. I couldn't tell you who commented, not that it makes whatever they said any less sincere, but what a great suggestion. So beautiful suggestion, whether somebody's going through a hard time or not, right? Maybe just a hello. I think you taught me that. Like, reach out to people and just to say hi.
No, I agree. And it could be, you're right. It could be anything. And that's the cool part. It could be like, dude, you're 40 years old, because I'm 41. The guys, obviously the people I went to high school with are a lot of people that I connect with online. And we're going through similar things. It's like, wow, you have, some grown-up kids now, they're in their teens, and you just went back to school and now you're a nurse, thinking of my friend Katie Perkins, and I'm like, awesome. Like, reach out and just say, hey, cool. And I think the letter, again, this goes far. It doesn't have to be a whole letter. Just send a card. I think it's a big deal for somebody to get something like, hey, I saw that. That was cool. Way to be a cool role model, or way to chase your dreams. Because, and just so think about it. Think about it.
That's amazing advice. Amazing advice. Okay, so I want to, and we've been going here almost an hour. I feel like I could talk to you for at least 2 more hours here, but which wouldn't probably be super uncommon. But let's talk about some business ventures here, because you kind of said, and I didn't realize that your dad had rental properties. So he then kind of was a businessman as well as his job of being a police officer. And so maybe that's where you get a little bit or a lot, I don't know, of your business sense from. But what I've learned from you over time is you've had quite a few business ventures that you've kind of explored throughout your life. So probably too many to name, but my question for you is, what has been your favorite business venture that you have started or been involved with? And what has been a failed business venture? And what are the lessons that you learned from your failure, from your favorite and your failure?
Wow. So yeah, there's just been something. I think it comes back to creating. I love creating. I love ideas. And so, and I think you do as well. And I know you do. And that process is so fun. So it's fun to get involved and have an idea and think it through and see if it'll work. And, the worst one, financially, the worst one, even though, I learned the most was, going into this mortgage real estate company. I mean, I had some money from some of these rental properties that were sold, and it was a lot of money, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I didn't seek out any advice. And I figured, this was 2007, 5, 6, 7, 8. And, the real estate market, this was right before the real estate crash, and the real estate market was great. And that was my background. So I got involved in the market. I knew, invested a ton of money, like at least $100,000, good money, bad money over bad money, whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, it just wasn't working. It's probably because I didn't know enough about it. And, I had a business partner that, I didn't really know. And, I made poor decisions, hindsight, there's a ton of stuff I should have done. I should have probably just bought real estate. And that's what I really wanted to do. And I was searching all these deals out. But funny thing is, if at that time I would have bought something, it would have been super inflated. And 3 years later, a ton of the value would have fell out and I would have been stuck.
Yeah.
My mom somehow sold this rental property we had down at Wrigley Field, right 4 blocks from Wrigley Field.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was 40 units, and we renovated it down to about 25 when I was like in I was like about freshman in high school or something. Me and all my friends were doing all the demo, and they renovated it down. And so then after college, I lived down there doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. I was living in the basement. Hey. I was the landlord. I had my drum set. We were like in our 20s, whirled by the string. I had, as long as I was a landlord, I was painting things. I was doing this, I was doing that. I was working for Coldwell Banker on the side, and I was going to Cubs games every day. My one season, I went to 43 home games. A lot of those I went by myself, but it was an amazing time. And so that I lost a lot of money doing that, but I learned a ton. I learned a lot about myself, maybe what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. I learned that I probably need to seek out help or mentorship, which I kind of thought I was doing at the time, but I didn't make a good choice. Mm-hmm. But it's not all his fault. I'm blaming it on myself because he was doing his own thing. He wasn't responsible for me or my decisions. There was just an opportunity there, I thought. So that was that. It hurts. That one still stings. And I try not to think about it because what's the point? The only thing,
that's so good.
It's the lessons, right? Maybe there's just lessons there. So if you think about it, just think about what the lesson is.
Yes. It's like, why you only have so much energy, right? So why exert all that negative energy and like trying to think about it when it's something that cannot be changed? I love that.
I know. Except those days when you need $5,000 to do something, you're like, God, I had so much. But so that, my favorite is with you. This Positive Life company is cool because, real estate and mortgages was like a job. It was like a career, it was like something you do. But this, and I've tried to do a lot of things, but this is like who we are, right? This is just what we're doing because we've had all of our experiences. We found out what we love. We love connecting. We love meeting people. We love hearing stories. And now we want to share it. And so you and I have an interesting twist here because we have we're so similar in like what we kind of want for people and for ourselves. But we have these interesting business brains, this creative side, which I think creativity in business is a really difficult little thing because creating something, but like then doing something like that makes like business sense can go against each other kind of, but they're so fun.
Right.
It's so fun. But so this is like speaking to like who we are and what we enjoy doing. And so I think just surrounding yourself with something that you love, right? It's another cliche, but we're finding that it can be something. And I think we've struggled to find out exactly what it was. Like, do we have a product? Do we sell something? Or what are we just connecting with people? What are we doing? And now we found a way to help people tell their stories with the documentary work that we're doing, which is so exciting because it brings our creative passion to a business idea, but it's really service-based. We're saying like, let's serve people, let's talk to people, let's meet people, let's share these stories so that people can learn and grow from. And that's really where this podcast comes in. It's like, let's get people to connect and like meet people and not just billionaires. It's like, let's meet the guy who you live next door to that you have no idea that he was like, a Vietnam decorated soldier and has been through all this stuff. And he had this company that he sold like 20 years ago. And it was like the largest company. You know what I mean? It's like, there's people all around us that have these amazing little stories. And those are the ones we want to get out to the world.
Yes, I love that. And through all my travels, I feel like that's the one biggest takeaway that I have from traveling is everyone has a story. So whether it's the person sitting next to you at the, on the plane, or the guy that comes and sits next to you at the bar at a random restaurant in a random town, which is a story for another podcast, right? But everyone has a story. And so that was well said. Okay. In one sentence, what does the Positive Life Company mean to you?
One sentence. What does it mean to me? It means, I don't know. That's tough. Probably bringing people together. What does it mean to me? It means like combining business and passion. Really, that's what it kind of means. It means I get to do both at the same time. Yep.
Beautiful. Okay. In one sentence, what do you want it to mean to others?
I want it to mean like hope and inspiration. I want people to be able to, it's longer than one sentence, but yeah, I want people to find, the rules. Yeah, I want people to find hope and inspiration. We'll leave it there.
That's not even a sentence, Joel. That's 2 words. Well, it's 3 if you want to use the conjunction.
Yeah, we'll use the conjunction with a period. I want it to mean hope and inspiration.
Subject and verb. All right. I think that's great. I want hope and inspiration. Fantastic. Okay. As we wrap here, my question to you is, what do you want your legacy to be?
That's great. Legacy. I think a lot about that. Just about people in the past, and how people think about, I think you get to a certain point of your life where then you're like, well, what do I leave? Or how do I leave a mark? How do I leave an impact? Whatever that is. I want it to be, I guess I want to be loved, really. I want to be able to spread it and bring it and just connect people. I want my legacy to be that, he was a good guy and brought people together and, it helped everybody out. It's like, if you can just connect the right people. I remember just connecting people that the 2 worlds, right? Your high school world and your college world. And and when you connected people from those worlds, and then they got, like, if you had 2 friends that you connected and they became like buddies, that is kind of cool, where it's like their lives changed and they're like super tight. But they would have never known each other had you not connected that. Well, probably not. And you connected that. And then to see that, like, that's the coolest thing.
Love that.
And that's why hopefully Positive Life Co. will have this yearly event, right? So that we can bring all those people together and we can make those connections. And and we're all feeding off the same premise of this positivity and this like inspiration.
Beautiful. Love it. Okay. Rapid fire. Ready?
Uh-oh.
Pink or purple?
Purple. Even though my son's been saying pink all day long, I should have said purple.
Purple was just named the color of the year for 2018. So good choice.
Woo!
See, you're like hip and cool, and maybe you didn't even know it. All right. Audiobook or hard copy?
Currently audio, but I'm going to go back to hard copy. It's a mix.
Okay. Walk or bike?
Walk.
Best thing to happen to you in the last week?
Best thing to happen to me in the last week. Got some good sleep.
Always important. Favorite podcast?
Right now, I'm listening to Gary Vaynerchuk.
Vaynerchuk. Phoenix summers or Chicago winters?
Phoenix summers. Great question. Bring on the heat.
Dogs or cats?
Used to be neither, but dogs are growing on me. I like them.
Okay. Big dogs or little dogs?
I always wanted like a Great Dane and a Chihuahua together. I wanted them together. They would be buddies. The one guy would be like, I got your back. And the other guy would be like, all right, I'm going in.
Oh, I love that. All right. When golfing, cart or walk?
Walking preferred with a caddy, right?
All right. I'll take that. Coffee or tea?
Coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon.
Last one, rambles or rabbit holes?
Ooh. Rambles now. That's 2018 is all about rambles.
I have this post-it note in my office that I wrote one time when you and I were chatting, and you said, rambles and rabbit holes is where greatness lies.
Oh, look at that. I love it.
Hey, quote Joel Pilka, quote of the year right there.
That's one of those things. I was like, I wrote that? That sounds fun. That sounds great.
You said that one time when we were.
Yeah.
I think I was like, oh, so sorry for the ramble or so sorry for the rabbit hole. You know how we go down rabbit holes. You go, no, you're always like so accepting, like you're a very accepting person. So, anytime somebody apologizes, you're like, no, that's fine. Even though in the back of your mind, you're probably like, oh my gosh, seriously. So I think I was like apologizing for something and you go, no, rambles and rabbit holes is where greatness lies. And I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. I wrote it down on a Post-it note and it's been in my office ever since. So I look at it every day.
Oh my gosh. I need more Post-it notes. I got to start putting them up. When you put those Post-it notes up the other day, I was like, this is cool. I need to do this.
Yes. Well, that's the organization part of my brain that maybe you don't have.
I don't do that. I need somebody to come over and do it for me.
Love it.
Play to your strengths.
Beautiful. Yeah. So, no kidding. So fun. A couple things that I think, kind of either became like a theme or just things that I think were so powerful. One is the lessons from your parents and just be who you are. One of the most beautiful things I think that you talked about is how, as a child, how entertaining really became something that was a part of you, and you realized that. And now, as we look at who the real Joel Pilka is today, you're still doing that. And life is your stage, and you are doing a great job on that stage. So kudos to you.
That was so nice, Amy. Thank you for that. I mean, that was beautiful. I appreciate it.
All right. So tell us, you're welcome. And so tell us, how can we connect with you?
So, Joel Pilka, either on Facebook, but, the Positive Life Company on Facebook. We have the Positive Life Community. We're on Instagram too. I think the community has been the most fun. So, hit me up there, joelpilka@gmail. If you just want to email me, we can, set up time to chat. We're doing the podcast. So, if you want to get your story out and you want to talk, maybe we can have you on the show. So reach out, drop me a line, and let's talk. Let's chat it up.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joel. I started this podcast or this interview saying that you are a person who, when you share something with the world is a better place because of it. And anyone who's listening today, I am confident that if they listen to this whole podcast, they are now a better person because of you. So thank you for being in this world. Thank you for all of your amazing talents, and can't wait until next time.
Thank you so much. Take care.